As you may know, Corby is about to have its own sculpture park. I visited Oakley Vale to ask Richard James how he turned his ideas into steel sculpture.
It's kind of creative industry, so it's taking the artistry and carrying that on and taking the drawings and instead of them being on the page, they're laser cut into 10mm thick steel, which is fantastic. You've got the tube, which is part of the main structure, and you're bending that through huge rollers that exert tons of pressure. You're keeping that creativity, but it's literally an industrial process. The fabrication fits into two distinct parts. One is where the structure is kind of put together, if you like, and the other is where it's all welded together. So the putting together bit is just kind of where all the different bits are rolled and bent and twisted and then tacked with little tiny, almost like sewing as well. So tacked together, and obviously the creative and the aesthetic judgment in that is absolutely critical. So I'm very involved in that, and then the welding up of it and the finishing off I leave to people who are much more able to get a very high finish. It's the culmination, because the idea and the maquette, that is kind of the sculpture in one way, but because the vision is always for it to be 4 metres tall, that impact of suddenly seeing it huge actually is where the buzz is, really, and where you see the vision that you had in the first place becoming a reality. The drawings were used to laser cut into the steel, and this was kind of to create almost a lacy, delicate texture. That was the thinking behind the idea of having these images cut into the steel. The bench ends have come out really, really well. I kind of love the idea that it's a big steel Chesterfield, the way that it looks, with the big sort of curly armrests. From a distance, they will look like a kind of lacy, delicate pattern, and then as you get closer, you'll be able to pick out the fact that there's red kites in there, and dragonflies, and herons, and newts, all of which are to be found on Oakley Vale. The curled leaf has come out incredibly well. I'm very pleased with that. It's got a beautiful movement through it. As a companion piece to the main sculpture and the bench, it's really going to fulfil its function as a kind of a marker that there's more to come as you walk through the estate. The galvanising is to make the sculpture last much, much longer. We found out at the galvanisers this morning that it's 130 microns thick, which should give us in excess of 60, 70 years before you'd need to do anything about it. And in addition to which, it's kind of a reflection of Corby's industry and the industry that's still alive in the town. The first thing you do in galvanising is the pickling process, and this removes the mill scale and any deposits that are on the steel so that the zinc can adhere to it. The zinc is essentially the galvanising. From pickling, it's then put into a flux bath. Now, the flux, in a similar way to electrical flux, allows the zinc to run all around the steel really, really quickly. So it creates an even coating. So if you didn't put the flux on, you'd kind of get clods sticking here, there and everywhere. Then it's dipped into the zinc bath, the hot zinc bath at 450 degrees. Then from the zinc bath, it comes out looking all silver and magical. And it's then dipped into a cleaning bath, which just puts a film on the surface, which gives the surface a greater longevity. Seeing it rise out of the zinc tank was magical. Yeah, it brings the creative idea into reality. The sculpture now needs what's called fettling. The galvanising process leaves little jags on it, which we will be taking off to leave a lovely smooth finish, ready to be installed. Next Tuesday we pour the foundations. Then the following Tuesday, at the end of June, the main sculpture will be being installed, with the smaller pieces being installed in the following week to the grand unveiling on the 15th of July.